I'm John Lear. Today is my birthday. I'm 71 years old. And everything you think you know is an immaculate deception. Carrie, you made a decision on whether they went to the moon or not?
Oh yeah, they went, but they had help.
No. Okay. I see where you are.
Yeah, I don't know if are you aware of William Tompkins?
No.
He's a new whistleblower.
Okay, but they didn't go, and I'll explain why
All right.
they didn't go. There's
So in other words, you don't, at this point, you don't believe we have a base on the moon?
We could, but you know, the moon population of humans, not from Earth, humans from somewhere else,
Right.
is 250 million people. Why would we have a base there?
Because we can, and because it's a
Why would
military
they let us
outpost.
have a base there?
Sorry?
Why would they let us have a base here?
Well, they didn't want us to, but Curtis LeMay, according to this new whistleblower, insisted. And I got another witness that says the same thing.
Interesting.
I got two people who agree on this.
Interesting.
This new witness he's basically, he's out whistleblowing with the blessing of the Navy. He reports directly to Bobby Ray Inman.
So, how did they get to the moon?
That's a big question. You know, I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I don't know. I know that he's saying they went to the moon. He's saying, you know, they had help. I mean, we heard from Henry Deacon. You remember our witness Henry Deacon from a long time ago. They had help. Now, whether they jump, you know, whether they bend space-time to do it, and so you can avoid the Van Allen belt, I mean, that seems to be the big issue. That and the radiation, obviously. But my understanding, I mean, everywhere they can go, they have to basically bend space-time.
Because they were never able to get the Saturn V to work. So they made a Saturn 4B to look like a Saturn V, and all they did was launch the first stage.
Okay.
There's no photographic record from all the thousands of videos that were taken that show a second stage firing. Didn't happen. So,
Okay, I believe that. I also, you know, want to talk to you about Elon Musk. SpaceX, using rockets right now, right, to go to the space station. He wants to go to the moon. He wants to go to Mars.
Yeah, but they can't.
He's using old technology. The rockets are going somewhere. They're launching off of Earth, supposedly taking payloads to the space station, I guess. You know.
Yeah,
But it's a very suspicious situation with him. But he had a lot of sabotage recently, you know.
Yeah, I saw that now. But Neil Armstrong never admitted to going to the moon.
You don't think so?
He, you know, in his speech...
Do you know who David Adair is? Yeah, he's a Black Project scientist. I just interviewed him recently, and he's quite a bit older now. He was involved in building his own fusion engine, and the military were very interested in him when he was a young man. He blew up his own rocket to stop them from accessing the technology that he had. But he apparently was very good friends with, if I remember this correctly, I think it's Neil Armstrong, his mother, and him. And he used to actually work for Neil Armstrong, like just as a kid, just doing odd jobs or something like that. So he talks a lot about Neil and the guys, you know, the Apollo astronauts. He seemed to know most of them. But
and Aldrin, his story is when he tries to talk about the moon and he gets sick.
Yes, I mean all of that is real. I mean I agree with that. I mean, we're going to have a good all time, you and me, going all over all of this. I want to talk about Antarctica, about all what's going on over there.
Yeah, no. You've read Linda Moulton's interview with the guy that just came back, flew C-130 down there?
I didn't see that, no.
Was supposed to come back direct, but he decided to go directly over the South Pole and saw a huge opening, and they flew the C-130 down in there, and there's just all kinds of stuff down there.
Right.
It's a very interesting interview.
Okay, I'll have to check it out.
Check us out, but we do have stuff going on there ever since Admiral Perry went down there.
Right.
And found out a lot of stuff.
Well, I want to talk about Antarctica because I've been talking to two whistleblowers about that and see what you think. I want to, get your take on what they had to say, see where you go with that.
Okay.
Okay?
Well, that's nice to hear that I'm still popular.
Oh, yeah. You wouldn't believe how popular.
Corey is my attorney, and he's interested in the JFK stuff, and I told him that the book that I read that blames it on Mossad puts forth a very, very good case, and I would be surprised if it turns out to be any different than Mossad.
The Mossad?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a witness right now. He's written a book called Spy Hunter. His name is Michael Shrimpton. He's an English barrister.
Yeah.
And he's talking about a secret German organization that held over from World War II. Used to be more or less the Abwehr, but is now called DVD. That's short for, I can't pronounce the name of it, but it's DVD. And he says they have infiltrated the Mossad and that they're running a lot of operations. And he says, I guess that he thinks it was somehow masterminded through the Germans as well.
Masterminded by who?
The German
intelligence services.
That a lot of these things, including I guess Kennedy. Now some people don't agree with him.
The Prime Minister of Israel in the summer of '63 was Ben-Gurion, David Ben-Gurion. And Kennedy had been insisting on inspections of Dimona, and Ben-Gurion absolutely did not want it.
Right.
And in the summer of '63, he made the decision to direct Mossad to kill Kennedy, and after he made that decision and told Mossad that, he resigned as prime minister. And then Mossad went ahead, made arrangements, and they say that the CIA did it. They didn't do it, but they provided help, and the way they provided help was in 1947, James Jesus Angleton was the U.S. CIA, head of CIA in Rome Station, and he was moved from Rome down to Israel as they were forming a new country to help them put together a spy organization, which turned out to be Mossad. Somehow he got compromised. We don't know whether it was sexual in nature or what it was, but he was shipped back to Washington, CIA, and he was immediately put in charge of international foreign operations. And he has told many people, James E. Angleton told many people, from the time he was put in that position, that there was a mole and that he was going to find it.
Right.
And he was the mole.
Okay.
It was him that was the mole, and then
But for a long time, I mean, the mole was, I thought, what's the guy's name? You know, the British guy that he somehow was always right under his nose and he never knew it? That was proven later, I thought.
I don't know, but
Was
James
it
Eason's name.
Philby or
Pardon?
Philby?
Kim Philby.
I might have been Philby. So, I mean, that's very interesting. Shrimpton is saying that that actually James Jesus Angleton was compromised, I think. I think he's saying that it was through the Germans, but we know he had a link to the Vatican as well.
Angleton was fired by the CIA in 1972 of a book there. The director of the CIA in
Right.
1972, I forget who it was, but he found out that Angleton had helped grease the skids to kill Kennedy. It wasn't that they masterminded,
Right.
but they did help.
Right.
Have you heard of tidal locking?
Tidal locking?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, what happened was they're trying to figure out why the moon is in this rotational lock. And they're having trouble proving it. So what they've done is invented this force called tidal locking, which proposes that anything launched into space will eventually come to a halt and tidal lock itself into orbit around whatever is there, whatever planet is around there. And they cite Charon, I think, is the moon that circles Pluto, and now they are trying to present tidal locking as the bottom line for why the moon is in rotational lock. And it's important they do this because they have to have an explanation of why the moon is in tidal, why it's in rotational lock. The reason it's in rotational lock is because the aliens put it there and made it in tidal lock, and that's what they, whoever they are, doesn't want the public to know, doesn't want mainstream science to know that that the moon was placed there by extraterrestrials 15,000 years ago. The moon was made in Jupiter 38 billion years ago. It was manufactured there, and it has been going around to different planets. In our solar system, we're told that there's 9 planets. There's actually 40 planets. And these planets have been inspected, and the moon, before it came to Earth, had made all trips to all the different planets in our solar system. And we're told that Earth is the only light-bearing planet in our solar system, which is wrong. There's 40 planets, and they all have at least one civilization. Most of them have more than one civilization. The civilizations not only are on the surface, but are inside of the planet. For instance, Earth, there is upwards of 100 different civilizations inside of Earth. He and I got friends when he was still working at the Skunk Works, and we shared some information, and apparently when they leave, they wipe their minds of anything sensitive.
Does he feel they did that to him? Like he can't remember certain
He
things?
said it's a possibility, but he doesn't know for sure.
Oh.
And we got to, he's the one that got me to reading the book by, I forget who it is that blames, or that shows evidence that we got the plutonium from Germany, because they knew that they were going to lose, and they wanted safe conduct to the U.S. for 3,000 people. And the trade was they would give us their plutonium. Now,
Oh, really?
they could make the plutonium, but they couldn't make the gun. We could make the gun, but we couldn't make the plutonium. So it was advantageous to us to make this trade and get the plutonium, which is what we used.
And you can't remember who this guy is that's claiming this?
Yeah, that's it's a guy you know. Do you know who Perry Spolter is?
I've heard the name.
Perry Spolter, very knowledgeable. She has degrees in a master. I'm trying to remember what it is, but also she's
I'm on him.
a mathematician and extremely knowledgeable in mathematics, and she's the one that proved that Newton's universal law of gravitation is wrong, and she explains why and what it really is, and that means that using her formula, the gravitational force on the moon is 68% that of Earth's. That's why, even if we could have gotten the Saturn V to the moon, we couldn't have got it back, because the gravitational pull would have prevented not only the landing, but it would have required too much fuel to do the takeoff to come back to Earth, and we wouldn't have had even enough fuel to make the trip back to Earth. And her name is Perry Spolter. I talk to her all the time. She is very knowledgeable. The only thing is, she absolutely positively believes that we went to the moon, and she uses some of her figures for gravity from the gravity measurements taken by Apollo 15, and try as I might, with all the evidence that I have that we never went, she still believes we did. So she's getting on in years. She is being taken care of. You should really interview her before she...
Yeah, I'd love to.
I'll give you her address
That would be
and all
that
that.
would be fabulous.
And you need to read her book before you go see her. It's called
Okay.
Gravitational Force of the Sun. And it's written so that you and I can understand it.
Okay.
And so there's some other books that we'll talk about. But have you interviewed Lou Baldwin?
No, I haven't. I think I brought him on my radio show one time, but it's been a long time. I should probably revisit him. I'd be happy to. You have been on my radio show twice, but we never came back in person until this moment. So it's really the fact that I'm here in person that really harks back to the original interviews. But I think that it's great that we're able to do this, and maybe it's really appropriate because we have so much footage on you that it goes for like 6 hours
Really?
stuff. Oh yeah, and maybe more like 8. We've got everything is up in several sections, but I have to add it all together. But we have 2 major interviews with you, and so
You mean you came up on 2 separate times?
I guess we did. Because we named, they're totally different interviews, and so I guess we must have come up twice. And that would be in the first 3 years of operation then. I've been doing this now for 11 years.
Really?
Yeah.
I've got a lot of good presentations. For instance, have you been following the Navy's, you know that the 15 western states of the United States sit on a plate, and that it sits on the Pacific Ocean, and there's 2 entrances that we know about, one at Monterey Bay
Right.
and one at Malibu, and they can go through these entrances to many different places, but the main place that they went to beginning was Hawthorne, Nevada, and there's a lake there, and many years ago, 30 years ago, I began driving back and forth to see my folks in Reno, and would always pass this town, and in the beginning of town there's a big sign, and it says Naval Underwater Training Center. And then after that, they cut out the training and just said Naval Underwater Warfare Center. And what it turns out to be is Hawthorne is where they made all the specific munitions and bombs and everything else that a submarine carried. And instead of having to ship it from Hawthorne over the roads up to San Francisco, Alameda, or south to San Diego, all they do is send the submarine into this huge underground submarine base that's 3,400 feet below Hawthorne, Nevada.
Wow.
And there's an elevator there that it's a huge elevator, and they built it so that they could go down, take the munitions. All they have to do is, it's back in the hills where they build this stuff, and they just drive it across the street and into the one big building where the elevator is, and put it on the elevator and go down 3,400 feet to the submarine pens where they load it.
Right.
And
What about the idea that that channel goes to Tahoe, under Lake Tahoe?
absolutely, because a friend of mine was a member of SEAL. He was one of the first members of SEAL Team 6, Scotty Lyon, and he died a few years ago, and unfortunately he was going to tell me something, and they put him in the hospital here at hospital across from Nellis Air Force Base, and I got busy and doing stuff that it really wasn't that important, and when I got around to going to see him, he couldn't talk anymore.
Wow.
But he was going to tell me something about Lake Tahoe, because he was always going there. And now, is it Jacques Cousteau that dove down? I mean, that went down?
Well, it sounds very likely.
And when he came back, they said, what did you see? And he said, what I saw cannot be told to the public at this time.
That's a really strange place, Lake Tahoe. That lake, if you've ever been on it, have you been on it? Yeah.
Many.
And it's very dark, you know, and very deep. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And that's one of the things Cousteau was trying to find out, is what the depth was. Now, there's other places that they go to. They can go to the Navy base near Trona,
China Lake?
China Lake. And it's so big that, I had friends that worked there. They had bicycles to go from one area to the other under the, it's as big or bigger than Area 51. And Area 51, you've seen, I guess we've covered the history of Area 51.